Welcome to the From My Stand podcast with Matt Hinkle. Whether you are an avid hunter, a novice, or someone interested in the sport, Matt has a unique perspective to share. Sit back, relax, and kick your boots up as Matt shares what he's seeing from his stand.
Hi friends, welcome to today's show. I'm your host, Matt Hinkle. We are on episode 4 of a series of 5 on my own personal philosophy of hunting. We've looked at 3 things already, and they are good things to look at if you're getting started in hunting. And even if you're a seasoned hunter, you might get some ideas from these shows. But this is my own personal philosophy of hunting. It's built on 5 words. And so we are looking at a series of 5 episodes on those 5 words. Number 1, we talked about what's your goal. What is your goal for this hunting season? Number 2, where's your ground? What ground are you going to be hunting on? And can you accomplish your goal on that ground? Number 3, we talked about game plan. What's your strategy going to be in your hunting season this year? Are you going to be bow hunting, gun hunting, or both? Are you going to be in a tree stand, a ground blind? You know, what is your strategy going to be? Give some thought to that. And once you know what your goal is, once you know where you're going to be hunting and a little bit about the terrain and the weather and all of that, and then you know what your strategy is going to be, then it's time to think about gear. So we're going to have a lot of fun today. Today's going to be a fun episode. We're going to talk about gear. Deer people are gear people. We love gear. But one thing I would tell you is make sure that your gear is serving you and make sure that it is serving your goal and your purposes. Don't just run out because you saw something on television or on the internet or a buddy got it and then all of a sudden you think you need it. Make sure that your goal is serving you, or make sure that your gear rather is serving you. But man, gear is a lot of fun and there's a lot of cool stuff out there, and that's what we're going to talk about today. So we're going to do a little gear dump. I'm going to show you what I use. And again, I am not presenting myself as the expert. I'm just kind of telling you what works for me. If you've already got a program or a system in place and it's working for you, don't let me or any other podcaster talk you into stopping what is working for you. But if you're a new hunter or you're just kind of stuck and you're looking for some ideas, maybe this will provoke some thought and get you pointed in the right direction. Now, a couple of pieces of my gear that are not in the room with me today. We are right in the middle of hunting season right now, okay? So some of my gear is out in the field and I can't show it to you. All of my trail cams are out in the field right now. I like the Browning cams with the SD cards. That's what I use. I know there's a lot of really great stuff out there now. But that's what I use. It serves my purposes and works great for me year after year, and they really hold up. I like Lock-on, the old chain-on style tree stands with climbing sticks, and I got several of those out right now. We also do have a ladder stand out, and those are all great pieces of gear that you may want to think about getting. Also, we do use ground blinds. I've got a ground blind out. Now, I don't have one of the real high-end ones. It's like the $80 job. But they do real well for us. It's a 2-man pop-up ground blind camouflage. It's got little fold-down windows. And in fact, my son just shot a pretty nice buck a couple of days ago out of our ground blind, and it works really, really good. Now, I'm going to turn the camera around and show you my essential gear for deer hunting. Now, again, this may not fit every part of the country and every style of hunting, but, we're talking about whitetail hunting here in the Midwest. In Ohio, we get pretty warm temperatures, but we also get cold temperatures. And so this is my essential gear. Now, I have tons of stuff down in my basement that we're not even getting into today, but this is kind of my essentials. I keep this stuff in the off season, most of it in tubs. I keep my binoculars together, my small gear like gloves, hats, face masks, things like that. I keep those together in a tub. Then I keep base layers in a tub by themselves. I keep light clothes in a tub by themselves. And I keep my heavy clothes in a tub by themselves. And then I've got an area for boots, an area for backpacks, and things like that. Well, let's just start with what you wear on your body, because what you wear on your body is really important. It'll be the difference in staying out long enough to get that big buck or coming in early because you're wet and cold. You want to start with a good base layer. I like Under Armour stuff. Now, I have a lot of stuff that I'm not even picturing today. And by the way, this is a very visual episode. And so you may want to consider, if you're listening on one of our listening platforms, you may want to watch this one on a visual platform, not an audio only. And I think I said that wrong. If you're listening this on an audio platform, you may want to consider going to one of the video platforms so you can see this. But if you don't, I'll try to be very descriptive so you can, even though you're only listening, you can kind of get an idea of what we're talking about. But this is Under Armour upper and lower. It is gold gear. It's just right for our temperatures around here. They do really well with the wind. They do real well in wet weather. They do good in cold weather. And I've never found this stuff to be a problem scent wise. Now, of course, I wash it in scentless detergent and use, scent away spray and all that kind of stuff. But Under Armour makes a good base layer. You are going to need base layers after about September. Okay. So pay attention to base layers and get you something good. Then look, if you're the kind of person that goes out and hunts 1 or 2 days a year and you hunt the same days every year, then you might be able to get away with like one pair of camouflage pants and one coat. Okay. And if you can get away with that, great. But if you're like me, I start hunting around Labor Day and I'm hunting all the way till around Valentine's Day. And then I'm hunting again in turkey season, which starts in April and goes through May. And then, my personal dream, I haven't done it yet, but I'd like to start hunting bears in the spring, which is May and June. So if you're like us, we hunt pretty much all year round. So you're going to need some different stuff. So after base layer, I just have my light gear. This would be the early stuff, early September. I got a light pair of pants. I've got a light camouflage shirt. And then I've got a light jacket over there in the jacket pile. But this is light gear. I've got a light pair of pants, a light shirt. That's going to be perfect for when the temperatures aren't real cold. Then I've got my heavier pants. These are better for later in the season, mid to late season. Those are really warm. Again, if you wear just these without a base layer, you may have problems, a base layer and then your warm camouflage pants. The next little pile I've got here, I have 3 jackets. Okay. This would be, that's a light jacket. It's just a standard light camouflage jacket. It's perfect for early season or turkey season when the temperatures aren't as cold. And then this is kind of a middle of the road jacket. It has a hood on it. The light jacket did not have a hood. All these jackets have lots of pockets in them. They've got a good mainstream camo pattern on them that works really good for this part of the country. So I've got the middle jacket. And then this is a heavy duty coat for late in the season. And it works really well in those colder temperatures. If you're going to be gun hunting, which we do, gun or muzzleloader hunting, I think every state has hunter orange requirements. Now, this is just a personal preference of mine. You should absolutely follow all the laws of your state. And I do that, we do that, but I do try to get away with as little orange as I can and still be within the law. I love these little vests. It's just like a little hunter orange vest, not a full-blown coat. I wear that over my either light, medium, or heavy coat, and it does just fine. It meets all the legal requirements and all that. But I also have a full-blown, full-on orange coat, and sometimes that's appropriate. If I'm going to be hunting in a little more of a crowded space, I might consider wearing that, having just a little bit more orange. This little pile here is just the little extras and accessories. I always wear a hat in the field. Early in the season, it's going to be just a camouflage baseball hat. That one works just fine. And then I'm a toboggan guy, so I really love that toboggan right there. My mom got me that for Christmas just a few years ago, and I love it. This toboggan here, I have a lot of history with that one. I actually got that toboggan when I was 13, and I've still got it now, then I'm 43. So I've had that hat for 30 years, done a lot of hunting under that hat. And it's funny because my son was wearing it this last weekend when he killed his first buck. And so, toboggans, we've got a lot of those laying around. Neck gaiters are really good to put around your neck. You want to keep your neck cold. You want to keep your neck warm in the wind and in the cold. And so we always have a couple of neck gaiters. And then gloves. There's tons of different kinds of glove options out there these days, but I like rag wool. They're warm, they're comfortable, they're natural fiber, and they handle scent really well. And I've never had a problem. Pretty much my entire hunting life, I've used those like a rag wool style of glove. And of course, warm socks, lots of different kinds of insulated socks. If you're going to be doing a lot of walking, you're going to want to get like a wicking style sock, because if you start to sweat and then you stop moving and you're sitting still in the cold, you are going to get cold and have to go in, and it could ruin your hunt. So socks are very important. For around here, whitetail hunting in the Midwest, just a good warm pair of insulated socks is usually what you need, and that does you pretty good. All right, let's talk about boots for just a minute. Now, I don't have my pack boots out here, but these are my two main pair of boots for stand hunting and hunting that isn't going to be requiring a lot of walking. I like these tall rubber boots. These are Irish setters. They've got insulation. They're comfortable. They fit me pretty good. With a pair of insulated socks, and those are great for scent. These do a really good job for scent, and they're perfect for a tree stand. All right, there's my cat Stormy. She's decided to join the show today. Hi, Stormy. You're not going to be able to be out here causing trouble. Go on. All right, she's gone. All right, then here I've got some 10-inch high Rocky elk hunter. These are more of a hunter stalker type of boot. They're all leather. I do wear them a lot around here in Ohio. We put scent away spray and stuff on them, and I try to keep them as scent free as possible. But obviously the rubber boots do a little better with scent, but sometimes you need a good boot that you can walk in. And these Rockies are really, really good. They're insulated and they're comfortable, and they handle the weather really, really well. So again, base layer, outer layer, socks, what you going to put on your head, what you going to put on your hands, what you going to put on your neck, what you going to put on your feet, the boots. All right. We'll go to backpacks last. Okay. Here's my bow and my release. It's just a standard trigger release. I don't necessarily love it. I don't necessarily hate it. I'm just used to it. I've tried to switch a couple of times and nothing feels quite like that. So I'm just going to use it until I can't use it anymore. For a bow, I use a Bear Whitetail Legend. That's what I'm using these days. I really like this bow. I've shot a couple deer with it. It does just fine. You're going to find out about me if you stick with this podcast that I'm kind of a middle of the road guy. I don't have like cheap junk as gear, but I do understand what it's like to be an everyman. In my hunting, budget is a consideration. Money is an object, and I can't just go out and buy everything that I want. So I try to find good gear, middle of the road gear that I can rely on, but that won't, totally break the bank. And Bear Archery has come out with some great bows that kind of fit every budget, but it's really good gear. It holds up well. And so I shoot the Bear Whitetail Legend. It's like a solo cam. It's got a wheel on the top. It's smooth. It's fast, and it performs really well. I shoot Easton Legacy arrows with 4-inch helical twist feathers. I know that's going to be a little different than what some of you guys do. It's just what I'm used to. I'm not necessarily saying it's better than what you use. I do like bright colors so I can see them good in the woods. Sometimes that is the difference between knowing whether you hit something or did not. And so I just really love feathers. I think they stabilize the arrow really well. They're easy to see in the woods, and they look really cool. So I like that. Now, I've always thought this, and we'll talk more about this in a future episode, but I really believe that a bow hunter should have a good quality bow, but you should definitely pay attention to what kind of arrow and broadhead you use, because that's the missile system that's actually going to hit the deer, okay? So the bow is very important, but I think it would be better. Now, this is a matter of opinion. You can disagree with me if you'd like, and you can put it in the comments if you want to. But I think you'd be better off with an average bow and great arrows and broadheads than a high-end bow with subpar arrows and broadheads, because a great bow will not make up for a poor arrow or a poor broadhead. So again, I like these Easton Legacies, and then for a broadhead, I shoot Thunderhead 100s. It's a fixed blade. I've shot them for years. I trust this broadhead. Killed a lot of deer with it. My hunting partners also have, and so we're pretty big on the Thunderhead 100. Again, I know there's a lot of mechanical broadheads out there nowadays. If you use those, great. Don't switch what's working for you just because I said so. But again, that's what I use. And so I just wanted to show you that. Now, if you're gun hunting here in Ohio, we're a shotgun only state. And just recently we became a straight wall rifle cartridge state. And so here's the gun I'm currently using. I don't have my muzzle loader out here today. I might show you that in a future episode. We'll talk about muzzle loaders. But this is a Winchester XPR bolt action. It is in 350 Legend, and really, really like this rifle. Shot several deer with it now. It has a 3-9 by 40 Leupold scope on it. And then for ammunition, now my daughter, she has a Winchester XPR. Hers is in black synthetic stock. Mine is in the wood stock. I'm just a little more traditional, and so I like that wood stock. She's got the black synthetic. Both of them are great rifles. And I shoot out of mine Hornady, and it's the FTX, and it is the 165 grain. And man, I'm going to tell you something. I have found that those hit a deer really, really hard, and they do a great job on deer. I'll show you what one of them looks like real quick. I'm a big fan of Hornady ammunition. Now, my daughter there's one right there. That's a great bullet. Does an excellent job in the field. But my daughter uses the Winchester Deer Hunter 180 grain, and she's not had any trouble with that. She's killed several deer with those, and she doesn't have any trouble with hers. Okay, I always take a first aid kit. I'm not going to open this up, but this is a Survivor dry box. It's got Band-Aids, gauze, Neosporin, pain reliever, that kind of stuff in it. I always carry a headlamp. I try not to use light in the woods anytime I can get away without using it. But sometimes you need to be able to use your hands and have light, and a headlamp will be indispensable in that. I always keep this wind detector stuff with me. This is filled with blue chalk. And so, you just puff the chalk up in the air, and the chalk will drift with the wind, and it'll kind of show you what the wind direction is. I always keep a journal with me, write down notes when I'm scouting, because I heard somebody say one time, a short pencil is better than a long memory. And if I don't write it down, I'm liable to forget it. Guys, optics are really important in hunting. My two favorites, I've used a lot of stuff through the years, but here in Ohio, bow hunting in the Midwest and gun hunting, we're not out west. We don't need necessarily the best binoculars, but these are really good for what we do here. This is the Redfield Rebel. It is 8 by 42. And that's a really good pair of binoculars. I love these. I've used them forever, and they are absolutely awesome. And then Vortex is making a lot of great stuff these days. And these are Vortex Crossfire 10 by 40 or 10 by 50 rather. And that's a pretty good pair of binoculars too. Now that's going to be a little bit much for timber hunting. That's what I tend to hunt, is timber here in Ohio. That's a little bit powerful for that, but it works great. Okay, you're going to want a good belt. Don't forget your belt. This is the belt that I use, and a guy that I know made that belt buckle for me, and so that has a little bit of sentimental meaning, but man, the belt works great, kind of holds me all together out in the field. A good hunting knife, I use a Browning, and this is the knife I've carried for years and years and years, and it is a really, really good one, but you're going to want a good hunting knife. This is my sharpening stuff. Sometime in the future, we don't have time today, but we'll have an episode on blade sharpening, but I always keep something with me to sharpen. And then I always take this pack with me. I don't necessarily carry it out in the woods, but something like this is, I think, really important to carry. It's got a little bone saw, it's got a caping knife, it's got a gut knife, and it's got a little, like a boning or a fillet knife. If you kill a deer and you know, you're not going to be home for a few days, that'll help you get that deer broke down to some extent before you get home. So that's a really important thing to be able to do. So anyway, backpacks, this is a whole other discussion. We'll talk about it some other time. But just so you know, I've got this multi-day backpack, and you can put a whole lot of stuff in that. I don't really use it day to day here, but I usually take it with me, and it has some things in it that I don't necessarily need every single time I go. One day we'll do an episode on that. But let me show you my my main bow hunting backpack, just so you can kind of see what I put in it. Now, I carry this small pack. This one I don't really carry in the woods with me, but I take it with me. It has all of my camera stuff. It has extra batteries for the camera. It has all my SD cards in it. And even the cameras fit really nice in it. It's just a really small backpack, and it works really good for the cameras. Now, here's my main pack, and it won't take long to show you because I travel pretty light. So in the main compartment, the big compartment, a couple of things are in here. Number one, safety belt. Safety belt. Do not get in a tree stand without tying yourself off. Now, I'm kind of old school, and this is an old school safety belt. It's just a belt that goes around your waist. It has a linkage to another belt, and that other belt goes to the tree. And that's how I tie off to the tree. I'm used to it. I can shoot good with that on me. But they have harnesses, lanyards. There's just no excuse nowadays to not be tied off, and you do not want to be in a tree stand and not be tied off, guys. It's so important. Make sure that you are always tied off when you're in that tree. I keep a length of rope in this big compartment, and I make the rope about 10 feet high, about 10 feet longer than the height of my tree stand. And that's my tow rope. That's what I tow everything up to the tree with, the bow and different things. Here's another safety thing, guys. Don't be climbing that tree with stuff in your hands. That's a way to fall. And I'm telling you, no deer is worth your life. No deer is worth your health. It's not worth breaking your neck. It's not worth breaking your back. It's not worth breaking your legs or your arms. Be safe when you're getting in and out of that tree stand, because it is just not worth it at all. Also in this big compartment, I keep a pair of rattling antlers. That's a little 8-pointer that my dad killed a long time ago, back in the years ago. And I keep those with me, and those are my rattling antlers. We will have an episode in the future all about antler rattling, okay? Calling deer in with antler rattling. I'm a big fan of that. Do it a lot, and we'll have an episode on that. Lastly, got a good flashlight in there, and then there's my camo face paint. I keep it in there as well. I'm not a big face mask guy because I wear glasses. I've either got glasses or contacts on at all times. And if you've ever tried to wear glasses and use a face mask, it is really, really difficult. In the second smallest part of the backpack, the part that's in front of the big part, I've got a couple of safety items in here. Here's a mirror, which, you know, sometimes you need a mirror for just all kinds of uses, but it can be used as a signal if you was ever down in the field and needed to signal help from above. Also, there's one of these little emergency blankets in there. And, you know, we're not exactly in the wilderness out here in Ohio, but if you fell out of your stand and you had to wait for somebody to come, by the way, make sure somebody always knows where you're hunting. That emergency blanket could keep you warm while you're waiting for help. So that's kind of a big deal also. Okay, in the smaller side pockets, I keep on the right-hand side, I keep a grunt tube. That's where I keep my grunt call. And I've just got one of them old Hunter Specialty grunt tubes. I've had a lot of different ones through the years, but man, that one just really sounds good, works good. Then, a little folding saw in this other small compartment on the right. It's just a very simple little Coleman camping folding saw. Sometimes you need to trim branches or things like that when you're out there. So those are good to have. And I think that's about it. I read a book several years ago. I read a book several years ago on bow hunting by Jim Doherty, and he talked about packing light, and not carrying a whole lot of equipment, nothing that you didn't absolutely need. And I've kind of adopted that philosophy through the years. And so I try not to carry anything I don't need, but the truth is you need stuff. And so if you're a new hunter, my advice is don't run out to the sporting goods store and just buy a bunch of gear because somebody told you needed it. Make sure that it is serving your needs. But this is kind of the basic stuff that you need to get started. And so it's your hunting season. Make it your own. And there's a lot of pressure right now in the hunting world to have this gadget or that gadget. And a lot of times you don't need everything you think you need, but you do need some stuff. And so you got to give some consideration to your gear. And that's what we've tried to help you do today in this episode. Well, thanks for joining us today. Some of these things that we've talked about today, we'll have future episodes on where we can elaborate a little bit further on them. But this has been a lot of fun today looking at this gear with you guys. I hope it's been a help to you in some way. I'm your host, Matt Hinkle, and that's how I see it from my stand. See you next time. God bless you. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening today. Be sure to tell your buddies and follow us on your favorite podcasting platforms. Y'all take care.